Chapter 2: Assets. The top of the mind stomach churn for Jake was his asset allocation. His concern about his investments had reached a level where he tended to start getting too close to the truth, not knowing whether he had the gumption to look it in the face. Michelle had acquired a new lease of life in her conviction to prove that indiscriminate purchase of assets was a root cause of the Great Squeeze. She pored over the analytics and dissected the assets into various categories: productive, support to production, administration, and overhead. Unfortunately, the furniture in Jake's office all classified as overhead. Segmentation of all assets along such lines immediately brought into perspective what resource was locked where. She further categorized the productive assets into product classes manufactured. On top of this, she very quickly was able to overlay the capacity and performance numbers to show exactly what the utilization of the asset was. Jake knew that it would hurt him to see the numbers, and it sure did. Michelle, of course, twisted a knife in his wounds by letting him know that had any employee been responsible for this, he would have sacked him even if he had created a tenth of the mess that was now visible. This was supposedly another message which Michelle was bringing home. A medium-scale enterprise needs to be protected most from its promoter, CEO. Like hell it was. Jake knew about it. The question was that, with the benefit of hindsight, of course, it looked very bad. Crucial muscle power of the company had got locked into an asset which was yielding next to nothing. Now, here is where Michelle came into a class of her own. She informed Jake that assets need to be understood in correlation to technology and relationships at one level, and performance and availability at the other. This definitely sounded different, and he understood where she was driving. Technology was related to internal processes, but also in a way were linked to the equipment purchased, and relationships with suppliers of crucial equipment was very important. As he pored over her classification of all assets, vendor-wise and process-wise, it turned out that a company had consolidated purchases of some assets with a particular set of vendors and were pretty scattered in other classes. In crucial operations, she showed that the organization had significantly bought into particular vendors. This presented the opportunity of talking about technology thrust with these vendors and the possible markets or customers who they should be going after. Even as he was looking at this, he started making mental pictures of how he was going to allocate his time and the time of his plant manager for compulsory meetings with vendors of critical equipments. On seeing the spread, Jake realized that the technology that he had bought was perhaps too far ahead of its time. He resolved that as long as he was in the medium scale, he would go for limited exposure to technology which was not tested and involved too long a gestation period. The other correlation of assets which Michelle had indicated was to performance and availability of machines. This tied in with the rejection or rework and maintenance across various product lines. This was also eye-opening. Across the plant, it was visible that the same class of equipment was delivering very good performance in some pockets and pathetic results in some others. It clearly showed that the different areas of the shop floor were not talking to each other, and the plant manager was not alive to the overall improvement possibilities. With the data in front of him, Jake could start constructing a slow and steady path to revival with different directions set for the internal and external course corrections. Equipment replacement versus upkeep, manufacture versus outsource. His head was spinning with ideas. He was specifically impressed with the segregation of the data that he would go through and that which his plant in charge should have before him. He had not liked a lot of what Michelle was implicitly stating, yet he got an equally strong feeling that they were both playing on the same team.